Excellent. So what we're going to talk about are what I like first. First off, club face is actually at a 90-degree angle behind the ball towards your target. So that's what we like to see right off the get-go. Secondly, you have the golf club positioned with the golf ball in the middle of your stance. So center of your feet. For an iron, that's perfect. Your feet themselves are about the width of your own shoulders, which allows you to pivot, right? So it's also very good. Posture. You got a pretty good spine angle. Okay, you're tilted forward from the hips, and your golf club is positioned, the angle of the golf shaft kind of opposite your waist, so at a good neutral level, like we see with our Golf Pro over here. The one primary thing was that your shoulders tend to be lined up open, which means your left shoulder is just behind your right, like this.
Okay.
You want to be straight or squared, right?
Right.
What you can do to help that be a little easier for you is you tend to have, again, as I saw with somebody else, your right arm and hand is a little tight, right? So what that does is, see how we can only see that right arm of yours? Mm-hmm. I should be able to see part of your left forearm, right?
His left is showing, yours is. Mm-hmm. I was the same way.
Because he taught me.
Well, he's done a good job of it, but we're going to try to.
I'm a bad teacher.
We're going to try to adjust it a little bit.
That's what he gets paid for. I know.
So what we want to see is if your left arm should be extended, right? That's where you hold on. I'll give you a grip pressure. Between 1 and 10, with the left hand about a 7 or 8, that's how firm you want to hold on to the club. Okay. In the right hand, about a 4, so much softer, right? And look what that does to your right arm. It'll allow it to tuck in.
Allows it to drop.
I see.
See the elbow tucks in?
Yeah.
So if that tucks in, your shoulders go from, as you can see, open to straight or square, right? And when they're square, you can turn. When they're not square, you have to use your arms or hands to try to pull the club back, and that gets things in a little disconnected type of motion. That's why I said you have good hand-eye, because you recover, right? But we'll make it a little easier for you by just squaring up the shoulders. And the other thing I would suggest maybe is just try to make sure that you always stay on the balls of your feet, the middles of your feet.
Okay.
There were a couple times when I watched that you tended to sit down too much. See that squat?
Yeah.
Look where my weight goes, onto my heels, right? Not going down. If I have a little knee bend, I can keep my weight on the middles of my feet.
Okay.
It's like playing, let's say a tennis, like a sport like tennis, where you're waiting for a serve, you're in the middles of your feet.
Yes,
Or
I've never played
imagine
tennis.
if you're going to dive into a pool, and the pool's there, you would
Okay.
tilt forward, have your weight there so you can spring forward. You wouldn't sit back like this and try to jump in, right?
Okay,
So different types of athletic positions for balance, right?
Okay.
So once we have that, we'll make it easier. But we're going to watch your club, and I'm pretty sure, your club is going to move away from the ball. See how it kind of moves out this way? Well, it kind of has to because, your arm is kind of locked, so the club has to move this way. And also it helps take your weight from your heels towards your toes to keep you balanced, right? We call that a little hitch. So the club hitches itself out, so it goes out this way. Then you bring it back inside, and the club gets in a fairly, not a bad position, you make a pretty good turn, but see a flat position? See how the golf shaft is behind your shoulders? It's got to kind of go out and around, right?
Right.
And then you have to try to maneuver it from there back to the ball. And you do. See, from there, you bring the club back in front of your body, put it in a great position, and you square the club face up pretty much, and you're able to turn forward. But it's a lot of recovery, right? So I'm going to just tell you the biggest key for you would be if we're set up the way I mentioned, your club head can now go back more directly, straighter back. And as a result, you can get set up more vertically, right? Instead of going out and around, you can actually go back and up, and then you can turn easier on the follow-through. And that setup position would be applied to any club. You just adjust for the length of each club with that same setup.
Okay.
All right, that's kind of